No. No is what you never say to Laurie Kramer when she calls to sweetly invite you to participate in one of her programs. And there have been many projects and programs yielding meaningful results. Having worked closely with Laurie on the Smith Club's oral history program that yielded 3 books of 48 Smith alumni's biographies, I have a sense of her organizing ability and commitment to see a project through to its finish, which is exceptional. In these regards, Laurie is simply remarkable. One evening after a Smith event, my husband and I were having drinks with several others and chatting about the event. Sally and George Pillsbury were there, as were Laurie's husband, Joel Kramer, and Ellen Van Iwarden's husband. I said that I liked working for Laurie, that she was quite motivational and encouraging. Joel piped up saying, I like working for Laurie too. It's not surprising that Laurie is so effective. She earned her MAT in elementary education from George Washington University in 1971. While teaching students was not her cup of tea, we had a lot of teachers here, but it wasn't hers, she did learn the essentials of what's important in conveying and explaining the elements of learning in any setting. One of these settings was serving as Cultural Arts Director of the St. Paul, Minnesota Jewish Community Center. Outstanding in her leadership efforts, she was awarded a Bush Leadership Fellowship in 1990. This woman collects honors and by the way, did you know Smith has a management program? In 1990, Laurie returned to Smith to study management principles in nonprofits during a 3-week course that continued with 3 more weeks the following summer. Deciding that she wanted to specialize in the area of mental health, she augmented her supervisory work experience and management skills with a master's degree in community health education at the U of M. Hold on. There's a lot to say about Laurie. There, she conducted focus groups studying mental health problems in the workplace, a project of the Mental Health Association of Minnesota. Continuing in this area, Laurie founded the Mental Health Education Project, a collaborative program of the Twin Cities Jewish community to raise awareness and reduce stigma associated with mental health issues. Laurie served as a project director, annual conference coordinator, and became a member of the Board of Mental Health Association of Minnesota, serving as president, among other offices. In 2003, she was honored with the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota Champion of Health Award. Yay. Today, probably Laurie's highest public profile is as co-founder of MinPost, a nonprofit, nonpartisan, online regional journalism enterprise, among the earliest such online news sites. Her co-founder was Joel Kramer, a former editor and publisher of the Star Tribune who, and I'm so impressed, during his career had edited 2 investigative projects that won Pulitzer Prizes. Well, where are you, Joel? Oh, okay. Laurie certainly knows how to pick her collaborators. And she hasn't overlooked our local Smith Club, for whom she has served as club president, Smith Day co-chair, and as co-chair of our groundbreaking oral history program. Our oral history produced 48 alumni interviews across 3 books called, and you can all help me, Strong Women and we are strong women building strong communities. What I observe is that Laurie traveled an evolving career path, never shy of trying something new she thought could be fun and interesting. She has courage. Also requiring courage, along the way Laurie and Joel produced 3 talented children. Clearly, Laurie said a resounding yes to many challenges and opportunities. With distinction, Laurie Kramer has certainly served the community at large and the Smith community in particular. It is an honor and a great pleasure to introduce Laurie, receiving acknowledgement for these accomplishments as the recipient of our 2024 Smith College Club of Minnesota Medal of Distinction. And here, can everyone see this? I don't want it to fall out. Is the Smith College Club of Minnesota Medal of Distinction.
I think Betsy remembers things that I don't even remember anymore. But I appreciate the kind words. I thank family and friends for coming. And special thanks to the club for awarding me this medal, which recognizes alums who stand out in their commitment to the club and the broader Minnesota community. And I am honored to join this esteemed group, which includes Margaret Wordle, Peggy Leppett, Barbara Kloss, Marty Swain, Jane Howard, and Kathy Hockedahl. And I think almost all of them are here today.
Laurie, can you hold your mic? Yeah, just hold it up. Yeah.
My connection to the club began 40 years ago, soon after moving to Minnesota in 1983. I was hooked in the traditional way, personal outreach, and an invite to Smith Day. And I will say that I have lived in larger...
There's something going on. It's a missing kid.
Oh.
It's an Amber alert.
I have lived in larger cities and smaller cities, but nothing that I have encountered met the high standard of the Minnesota Smith Club. It's, I can testify to that. It's quite a personal outreach. Once hooked to Smith Day, Joel and I created Smith Day crossword puzzles for decades. Nancy Malman, who Nancy Malman, may she rest in peace, was among our most dedicated puzzle doers. And if she didn't get 100%, there was a long discussion of whether her answers were as good as ours. I was Smith Day co-chair, as Betsy mentioned, and in mid-2007, I started a 2-year term as club president. I was interested in finding a project that would bring together the Minnesota-born women who'd attended Smith in the old days with the younger women who'd moved here for family or careers. Betsy Whitbeck, the innocent, suggested what seemed to me to be the perfect project, the oral history project. Later, she told me that 2 previous club presidents had turned her down. But I thought it was a great idea, and off we went. Betsy, Marty Swain, Holly Dowds, and I were the leadership team for the first volume. Barbara Kloss, as new club president, joined us for volume 2 and others for volume 3. The rest is history, oral history. Working on all 3 volumes, of strong women building strong communities, I've observed Smith alums, like everyone else, experience both the highs and lows of life. We celebrate the highs, the contributions to the community, which take many forms, but the lows are there too. Alcoholism, substance abuse, mental illness, personal and family, unexpected tragedy, including untimely deaths of spouses and children. I've also observed the importance of Smith not only the 4 years on campus, but the afterlife, the network, the lifelong friendships. This has come through in virtually every interview done for the Oral History Project. I'm also aware that work on the first 3 volumes has been led by alums, most of whom have already enjoyed their 50th reunion. Most of us are willing to continue lending our skills, interviewing, writing, and editing, but we are eagerly seeking younger leadership for Book 4. I was an English major at Smith. Some think the liberal arts prepare you for nothing career-wise, but I have found the opposite. My liberal arts education gave me confidence and skills to step up to the plate as community needs emerged. And the bachelor's degree from Smith was recognized wherever I went. Fairly or not, it seemed to mark me as a woman who received a first-class education and had the background and personal skills to deliver whatever I promised. This often went unsaid, as whoever I was talking to heard the name Smith and muttered appreciatively, "My wife, my mother, my sister, my daughter." Kate asked me to focus on choices I've made in my career, and I'll try to do so in a way that might be helpful to others faced with choices along the way. My first 2 careers in consumer protection organizations and Jewish community centers were traditional. I heard about job openings, applied, did the jobs to the best of my ability. I was what was called, Jane Howard, a trailing spouse in those pre-feminist days. Joel got job offers, and it was just a given that I would find something interesting and worthwhile to do in whatever city became our next home. No one raised an eyebrow at the idea of a whole family relocating to further the husband's career. Certainly I didn't question it. I had a well-developed sense of adventure, liked to experience new places, and the 3 little boys we brought to Minnesota were adaptable and seemed to do well in new neighborhoods and new schools. We literally didn't know a soul except whoever was offering Joel a job, but it was never a problem. And those 3 boys are here, if you don't mind just waving. I didn't know it at the time, but the move to the Twin Cities set me on a different path, one in which I had the opportunity and challenge of making my own career decisions. My first 14 years in Minnesota, I worked my way up the ladder at the St. Paul JCC. I loved the variety of challenges, the staff, the friends, the thousands of members, Jewish and not, the other agencies who wanted to partner with us. But as the years crept on, it became obvious to me that if I didn't leave under my own steam, they would carry me out in a box. It was 1998, I was about to turn 50. I knew I had to make a career move, but I had never made a career move before. At least nothing more complicated than choosing between 2 job offers. 25 years later, I still remember how difficult it was for me to make that decision. There were a million careers out there. I had some well-developed skills and interests and a record of accomplishment. But where was the match between what I was interested in and what the community needed? Finally, somehow, walking endlessly with Joel around Lake of the Isles, I reached the decision that my next career would be in the field of mental health education. Growing up with a mother who was diagnosed as bipolar, I knew I had something to contribute, and I knew I could obtain a professional credential in a reasonable amount of time. A small digression. The professional credential I decided I needed was a master's in public health in community health education. This was a 2-year full-time program available at the U. At that time, public health as a field was focused on anti-smoking and cardiac health. There was really no attention paid to the public health aspects of mental health, to what you could do to improve the mental health of a community as opposed to an individual. The professors who admitted me to the program were concerned they wouldn't be able to meet my educational needs, but they took a chance and I did a lot of independent projects and it all worked out. I never planned to do my mental health work, reducing stigma and raising awareness in the Jewish community. After 14 years, I knew the subject was taboo. But something happened in June 2000 that changed my direction. A Jewish woman living in Uptown was shot and killed by Minneapolis police in the midst of a bipolar episode. I did not know Barbara Schneider, but went to her funeral at Temple Israel to pay respects to her and to my mother. Rabbi Zimmerman told a story about visiting Barbara in the hospital for ovarian cancer a few years before her untimely death. Being a cancer patient was such a positive experience, Barbara told the rabbi. She got cards, she got food, she got visits. It was just the opposite of being hospitalized for mental health, where she was basically ignored. I gasped internally. I knew exactly what Barbara meant. That summer, as I pulled weeds in my garden, I couldn't get Barbara's story out of my mind. Eventually, I went to Jewish community leaders in St. Paul and Minneapolis with the idea for a mental health education project. With their endorsement and support, I raised the money, signed up every organization in the Jewish community, and launched an independent effort sponsored by the Jewish community, but free and open to everyone. In the early years, I had time to do a major fall conference, some mini conferences, training programs for frontline workers, youth directors, teachers, etc. I paid myself a modest salary from the grant funding to ensure my efforts got the respect not always shown to volunteers. After 6 years, the project moved from independent effort to a program of the 2 Jewish family service agencies. I cut back my efforts in 2007 to just the major fall conference. But I ran the conference for 18 years and it continued to attract 500 plus people of all faiths and backgrounds from all over and beyond the metro. I was pleased when I announced my retirement. They immediately moved to search for my replacement. The conference is still thriving now in its 24th year, and I am a volunteer on the conference planning team. The reason I cut back on my mental health work in 2007, in the spring of that year, both Twin Cities dailies were cutting their news staffs dramatically with buyouts and layoffs. Joel had been the last publisher of the Independent Star Tribune before the Coles family sold the paper to California-based McClatchy in 1998. By 2007, 9 years later, the Star Tribune had been sold by McClatchy to a private equity company and was nearing bankruptcy. Joel was approached by people in the community who wanted him to put together a group to buy the paper. His response, he could not look people in the eye and tell them they would make a profit on their investment in the Star Trib. The business model was failing all around the country. But the idea of creating something that would keep regional journalism strong had captured both of us. Personally, we were in a strong financial position thanks to the sale of the Star Tribune. We were both lifelong news junkies. We'd met in high school as editor and managing editor of the Martin Van Buren High School Beeline. By this time, we'd moved our empty nest household from the lakes to the river, and months of walks along the Mississippi replaced the Lake of the Isles walks of a decade earlier. The result was our co-founding of MinnPost, a nonprofit, nonpartisan journalism website for people who care about Minnesota. MinnPost launched in November 2007. We were the second nonprofit regional news site in the country after Voice of San Diego, and we've been recognized as a national leader. The first 9 years, Joel and I both worked full-time for MinnPost without pay. In 2016, we announced our retirement, and through a successful campaign, we're able to hire and pay the next generation of leaders. We remain active on the board and committees and fundraising campaigns, but we try to keep our excellent advice to ourselves unless asked. My high school journalism teacher was a traditionalist. He told us, always put the most important info at the beginning of the story. In those pre-electronic days, editors cut from the end when stories were too long. But I've saved one nugget for the end. I was recently diagnosed with multiple myeloma, a blood cancer. My care team at the U is optimistic that they will get me into remission and back into remission if the disease reappears. They say I have many good years ahead of me, and I am thankful for this prognosis. The treatments have been going well, and except for fatigue, I am feeling good. Thank you for the opportunity to reflect. I wish all of you long lives, good health, personal and professional fulfillment, and the chance to make meaningful contributions to the community in the Smith tradition.